Hi there, in this video we're going to be looking at Queen versus Rook's pawn. I think this is going to be the last Queen and Pawn endgame we're going to look at for quite some time. I would say it's the last of the really basic Queen and Pawn endgames that you should have a grasp of if you want to reach a reasonable level of atomic chess. The other ones we might get to at a later time are a bit more kind of I would say exceptions to rules and very rare kind of situations where, for example, cases where maybe the pawn can secure a draw and things like that, which very, very rarely come up in practice. The ones that I've shown you so far, including this one, are ones that come up with a lot of regularity. So these are the ones that really should be studied, I would say, and really should be known. Any other ones which I might come to later are more of kind of just for interest, and maybe if people really want to kind of have that maybe a little bit of an extra edge over their opponents in the endgame, they can kind of study those ones. But this is the last of the kind of basic ones. And in the Rook's pawn endgames, the most important part of it is really the placement of the queen. And in this particular example, you have to be attacking the pawn, but the best way to do that is to attack it horizontally. So the best squares really are the square e5, which we've just moved the queen to now, and f5. So I mean, if it was white's move here, so black managed to pass somehow, because g4 really is probably the best square for the black king, white would simply play queen f5 and force black to kind of declare his intentions with the king anyway. The reason it's bad for black to move is because if black moves, let's say backwards, back to g5, white will simply play king h3 check and show the kind of the power of that horizontal attack. Now whichever square black moves to, queen takes h5 will follow next. So black has to move forward instead, and when he moves forward, it doesn't really matter which square, either h3 or g3. White will then run forward to g5, h6 and then h7, and again this horizontal attack wins for white. Just to show you again, g3 would be exactly the same, g5, h6, and then queen takes h5. So backing up, so just to repeat myself, the most important element is the placement of the queen, and you want to attack that pawn in a horizontal fashion. And I say that e5 and f5 are the best squares because not only do they attack the pawn, but they also control a lot of squares around the black king. So that's really it for the Rook's pawn. That's all you really need to know, I think. Certainly where the pawn is advanced, say on any square between h6 and h3. If the pawn was on h2 and you're blocking it with the king, you'd be able to use the corner technique. And similarly, if the pawn was on h7, you'd be able to use the corner technique in the top corner and then force that pawn to move and then block it and use the technique seen in this video. So you can use a kind of combination of the techniques I've already shown you to tackle any type of Rook pawn Queen endgame, which are generally the trickiest ones because you have less space to maneuver with the king. So if you get a grasp of this endgame, then you should not really have many problems in converting winning Queen and Pawn endgames.